Wellbeing at MSU podcast, episode 4, Matters of the Mind, Supporting Mental Health on the University Campus. Today's guests include Talitha Easterly is a staff psychologist and assistant director for embedded and union services with the Counseling and Psychiatric Services, or CAPS, unit within Mental Health and Trauma Support Services pillar at UHW. Dr. Easterly has been engaged in collegiate mental health at MSU since 2008, supporting holistic health and well-being through counseling, consultation, collaboration, and outreach with an intention towards cultural humility, racial responsiveness, and purposeful points of connection. Colleen Floyd is an access specialist with the Resource Center for Persons with Disabilities, a health promotion, engagement, accessibility, and accommodations pillar within UHW. Colleen joined RCPD in 2022 and has primarily worked with neurodivergent students, faculty, and staff in her role. She comes into this work with a disability studies background and personal experience navigating the accommodations process. Lisa Laughman is a coordinator for the Spartan Resilience Education Program and the Health Promotion, Engagement, Accessibility, and Accommodations pillar at UHW. Lisa is working to harness the powerful skill building that happens in counseling and create training programs that can be embedded into the learning and workspaces Spartans are already engaged in. Jon Novello is Director of Employee Assistance Program and the Interim Executive Director of the Mental Health and Trauma Support Services pillar at UHW. Jon is a licensed clinical social worker, and he has been a practicing counselor since 1996. Before coming to MSU's EAP in 2004, Jon worked in a number of different capacities, including psychiatric crisis management and outpatient counseling. Julia Popenoe is the Assistant Medical Director with Campus Health Services at UHW. Julia is a pediatrician with extensive experience in adolescent and young adult medicine, including work with students affected by depression, anxiety, and eating disorders. A fellow of the American Academy of Pediatrics and part of Olin since 2007, she brings valuable perspectives on supporting mental health and primary care within campus health services. And Mikia Lawrence. Mikia is a fourth-year student seeking a Bachelor of Arts degree in broadcast journalism, and she is the Chief Publicity Officer of the MSU Residence Halls Association. A special content advisory in today's episode as it discusses mental health issues including suicide prevention and responses to acts of violence. Here's your host, Dr. Alexis Travis.
Hello and welcome to the Wellbeing at MSU podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Alexis Travis, Assistant Vice President and Assistant Provost for University Health and Wellbeing. Today we're focusing on the subject of mental health. I would like to welcome our guest, Talitha.
Hello everyone, happy to be here.
Colleen.
Hi everyone.
Lisa.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Jon.
Hello.
Julia.
Hi, thanks for having me.
And Mikia.
Thank you for letting me be here.
Thank you all for being here to lend your expertise and your input on this important topic. It's actually a hot topic across campuses across the U.S. The 2024 National College Health Assessment data tells us that the top impediments to academic success amongst our student population. Like many other universities, MSU finds that the top concerns are stress, anxiety, sleep difficulties, and depression, all related to mental health. So I'm curious if this is in line with the populations you support and the factors that may be driving forces, and how conditions such as these can impact academic success here on the MSU campus.
I work at CAPS and Counseling and Psychiatric Services on our campus, and absolutely I think that mental health is a hot topic, and I do think it should remain a significant topic as we talk about academic success. At CAPS, we do see a number of students coming in for heightened distress, sleep difficulties, anxiety, and depression, among other areas of mental health concerns. I think one of those factors are oftentimes this age group, so early adulthood. Those are the times when people are first experiencing a mental health type of concern. And then similarly, I think this phase of life, college transition, adjustments to a number of different things, identity concerns, interpersonal conflicts, acculturative type of stressors, all of those things can also come into play in this season of our students' lives. So I do think mental health is a big factor in their academic success. and we are seeing those similar factors here at MSU.
There's quite a lot of variables impacting the students, right, on case by case. I would like to get a sense more of the student perspective on mental health. What types of symptoms and issues are you seeing in the residence halls?
I definitely would say it's a lot of stress because, as Talitha said, with students, there's a whole extra layer of different things that we're adjusting to, getting used to. You have a lot of people having a roommate for the first time, dealing with kind of living on their own, adjusting to new routines, learning how to handle conflict, dealing with the stress of their classes and building their schedules, and just different things like that. So I feel like it's kind of, you really see these things come out and overall just are more visible in the student population because of these extra layers that students are facing. Not to mention, even we see it in our leadership team, one of the things that we do during our meetings is we do a check-in, because not only are we students, but we're also student employees. So when you add that extra layer of things as well, we're trying to offer support to our constituents while also making sure that we're taking care of ourselves as well. So kind of just that multi-layer of being a student and adjusting to new settings and things like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it sounds like our students are wearing many different hats at different times. So I really like that check-in piece because it fluctuates, right? It's not the same every day, and so being mindful of that. This question's for everyone. Some Spartans may hesitate to seek mental health support because of stigma. Barriers can look very different across cultural groupings and communities. How can we build greater cultural understanding in mental health care so that individuals from all backgrounds feel seen, respected, and more willing to reach out for help?
Yeah, I think a big thing is just continuing to be open and making it so that students are aware that they do have these opportunities and that it doesn't matter what it is that they're dealing with, just kind of reinforcing the fact that they're not alone, and then also kind of allowing them to be able to see representation in the people that they're going to for resources and for help, because we do have a very diverse student population, and like you said, things differ with mental health and just well-being in general across cultures. So students are more likely to reach out to people who are similar to them, they see themselves in, they see family members in, something that's more of a safe space. So I think just kind of increasing and really making it known that there is someone for everyone if they need that help.
That's powerful. There is someone for everyone, and representation matters. Thank you for sharing that. Nationally, the Healthy Minds Survey, which is completed by a sample of students nationally from different institutions, is beginning to show some early signs that mental health may be improving. For instance, we see that in terms of depression, it's down from 44% in 22 to 37% this year. And likewise for anxiety, it's down from 37% in 22 and 32% this year. We do know that there are some decreasing numbers as well for loneliness and then also for suicide. So this is, maybe a bright spot in a conversation that has, been significantly challenging for many campuses. This spring, MSU will enter into our next NCHA survey, and we'll be inviting students to complete that. And it will give us an opportunity to understand a little bit more about health and well-being, about how it's impacting our students. It will be also interesting to see if this trend begins to show in our data. So I'd like to ask Talitha for your perspective on, what are some of the indicators that mental health may be similarly improving here or trending in a positive direction, if you've seen that.
When we have participated in the NCHA surveys in the past, that very similarly, MSU has mirrored what we're seeing nationally. And I do think as students are continuing to transition back from the pandemic, I think you will continue to see more positive trends in connection on campus and belonging, feeling more comfortable reaching out for resources and services. And I do think that that improved connection will directly impact their improved health and well-being, and then their improved academic success. And I also think that, again, as students are more comfortable being back on campus, reaching out, connecting, they'll learn more of the resources that are available to them on campus and connect to those resources.
Yeah, it takes a while for folks to become familiar with all of the resources we have to offer in a campus like this, for sure. So just, part of that when you see students is that it's common for them to feel kind of overwhelmed and worried and about what they're experiencing is abnormal, even when it's part of like the normal ups and downs of college life and what people face. In your experience, what effect does this have on students' use of campus resources?
I do think if students are feeling like they're the only one experiencing the concern, that they may be more hesitant to reach out for services, feeling a little isolated in what's going on. And so as students do come in, I do work to encourage them, let them know that this is a very normative experience, that they're not the only one dealing with the concern that they're coming in for. And that we can work to identify ways to problem solve and work through some collaborative care to connect them to resources and help them navigate the many resources. Kind of as you were discussing, there's so many resources on campus. Sometimes it's hard to know where to start and how to navigate those many resources. And so just that initial point of contact and connection can help them kind of that path of getting connected to other resources and eventually find the number of services that are available and find the ones that they need to be successful.
So I want to shift gears a little bit. Colleen, thank you for representing RCPD today, Resource Center for Persons with Disabilities. RCPD provides accommodations and support to faculty, staff, and students with disabilities. Can you talk to us specifically about those supports and services available for people who have a mental health diagnosis?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. And it's wonderful to be here, especially representing RCPD, as disability can often be left out of like the mental health conversation, especially, the disability perspective. When we are working with students, it's a 3-step affiliation process, right? Folks need to self-identify is their first step. And then from there, we look at getting documentation. And documentation for a number of different reasons can be a barrier for students, whether that be access to medical support, cultural differences, and how folks make sense of their experiences. And there's a multitude of different reasons why folks might have a harder time, obtaining documentation, but we have wonderful campus partners like CAPS, like Center for Survivors, et cetera, that can connect with our students, as well as really great campus partnerships outside of UHW and within the community to get students connected. And then from there, we have a conversation with students, just that initial meeting. Something that I like to talk to students about, similar to you and like what you were sharing, Talitha, is that this is a normal experience, right? And really making students know that coming here, we're going to be affirming of their experience and really explore what might be available. I think thinking about mental health specifically that happens often is because disability can get left out. I'll have, conversations with students in their last semester. Like, I wish I knew I could have gotten this support earlier, right? And so, we'll be exploring and talking later on about, how we can really, have a network of support for students with mental health diagnoses, but trying to be affirming, making sure they're getting connected. And then, as we're having conversations about accommodations, we don't like to take a checkbox approach. You don't have this diagnosis and then, you're eligible for these diagnoses. That's not how it is. We, talk to students. It's very individually tailored to you and what you need, whether that be academic, housing, dining, anything that comes to, being a student here. And then we've got some great resources, right? We've got, tutoring, time management support, really great assistive assistive technology, and yeah, just a lot of campus partners that we can get students connected with.
Thank you for that summary. And you do have some really great resources, and we want to make sure that people reach out to them as soon as possible. It sounds like there's a spectrum of challenges, though, even from listening to the conversation this morning, from building basic skills to navigate anxiety to crisis and everything in between. What makes it essential for our campus to have a spectrum of mental health resources and supports?
I'll just jump in and say, so this is Jon, I'm director of EAP. People want and need different things at different points. So counseling is the thing that people often think of, right, when they think about mental health service, right? But counseling is something that not everyone necessarily needs, and sometimes it's not what people want. They want to engage differently, or they might not want to engage in person, or they might not want to even engage in a typical way, right? And so and sometimes people are sort of easing into their understanding of what's going on for them. They might know that they don't feel great or they're struggling with something, much like what you guys were just talking about, but they might not have a sense about what that means for them yet. Or there might be stigma involved, like we were talking about, like you were sharing earlier, like that, that might make it hard for them to right this minute think, I'm going to go and get counseling. So if all you have is just one sort of like framework of what mental health treatment is or how you take care of your emotional well-being, right, then you end up getting sort of stuck and people might not engage. It becomes another barrier, even if we have really great services, right? So you want to have as many resources and different kinds of things as you can. I mean, sort of the UHW sort of the no wrong door sort of idea. Someone coming in might really benefit from if you look at somebody that I could think to them, that person might really benefit from counseling. But if they're not there yet, the first thing they might want to do, that they might really resonate with, is a yoga class, right? Like in health promotion or something, or doing something like Lisa does in the resilient. And I know you'll talk about that shortly, or they might benefit from an online resource first, because that's a little bit less. Maybe of a psychological commitment. There might be a barrier there to like thinking I got to talk to an actual person. So maybe I'll do like a chat service or something like that, or the CAPS offers a number of services like that are all online and have a little bit more distance, right? So there might be something that somebody might benefit in terms of easing into it. So the value of having this spectrum of different kinds of supports really, again, is to capture the people for who they are and what they need and what they're able to or willing to engage in at the time, right, so that they don't get lost.
This is Lisa, and I'm the coordinator of Spartan Resilience Education. And as Jon was just describing that, he's describing an individual trying to decide what to choose off of the buffet of support that we offer here, which is a beautiful buffet. At Spartan Resilience Education, we believe that every Spartan could benefit from a core set of skills that supports their emotional health, their psychological flexibility, their mental health, and to have better skills to navigate the stress that's just a natural part of all of our lives. So instead of people feeling like they're the only one, we want to completely flip that and say every Spartan struggles sometimes. And if you're struggling today, it's just your day, and tomorrow maybe won't be. But this is something that happens to every single one of us. And so what Spartan Resilience Education is trying to do is take some of the core skill building that happens in high-quality counseling and transferring that into training packages that can be brought out to the community so that somebody doesn't even need to realize that they need help before they start getting the skill building that's going to help them. Scaling resilience education is critical because the number of students, I would also say, and employees experiencing anxiety and depression and stress is very high. If 74% of our undergraduate students have been diagnosed or treated for anxiety, if you extrapolate that to the enrollment numbers, that's more than 30,000 students, undergraduate students. And we know the numbers are similar for graduate students, postdocs, and employees. And this shows up in perfectionism and imposter syndrome and panic attacks, social anxiety, test anxiety, generalized anxiety, all of which I've personally experienced. And having to navigate that without a core set of skills versus what my life looks like now that I have that core set of skills, it's a completely different scenario.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. It stands out to me that since we've been doing the podcast, just the number of, staff who also have lived experience, who are serving in these programs, and that makes a difference as well when we're talking about the representation. So, Julia, I'm going to come to you now. When folks think of campus health services, they usually think of like some aspect of physical health, whether it's cold, flu, maybe you've broken a bone or something like that. Can you share how providers care for students who are experiencing anxiety and depression in campus health services?
Absolutely. I'm Assistant Medical Director of Campus Health Services, and we provide full primary care, and that includes comprehensive mental health care for students. It's actually a really big part of what we do. The last data I could get was 2023. We had over 1,900 visits related to mental health concerns, so it's not just colds and flus that we're seeing. So our medical providers have strong experience with students who are struggling with mental health issues. And when a student comes in, we start with a thorough evaluation. It's a longer visit for the first visit they come in for. And that's going to include really understanding what their experience is, what their stressors are, medical factors that may be contributing. And from there, we come to a diagnosis. We offer different management options and consider medication if that's appropriate. And then we follow up with follow-up visits that monitor progress and can make adjustments. We also work closely with CAPS and our local community therapists. We have an on-site social worker who will refer students either on or off campus for therapy. And students can use their 3 subsidized visits at Olin for this care. Once they've used those up, then the appointments are billed to their insurance, and now with mental health parity, insurances cover that very well. For students who don't have insurance, our social worker will work with them to explore options and apply for coverage. And so we really try to make things accessible, coordinated, stigma-free.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Yeah, it's quite a lot they're offered in terms of the different services. When folks want to make an appointment, because I know we have new students who may have never even had an opportunity to go to Olin, and then we have some people who've been here on campus for a long time, and there's been some scheduling changes. So when folks want to have an appointment, what does that process look like for our students specifically for getting an appointment?
Great question. Appointments are often available within 1 to 3 days, so they are quick. Initial mental health appointments are best scheduled by calling, but we also have online scheduling, which is fabulous. A student can go online at any time of day or night, as it often is, and schedule an appointment online.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've had some students go in the early hours, I believe, to make those appointments. So it definitely is, on demand. Yes. Similarly, for our colleagues from CAPS and RCPD, can you just share what the process is for scheduling appointments?
Yeah, at least for RCPD, right? Getting, if a student is brand new to getting affiliated, right, they're welcome to call our front desk, come into our office in Bessie Hall. We're in Office Suite 120 to kind of get connected, and we can help them through that initial initiation step of self-identifying. And then from there, if they're connected, with their access specialist, it's pretty easy, right? We have a bookings account. Students are able to make appointments whenever they need. We've got a multitude of different options for students, and that's as well as for instructors and employees as well. We also have consultation hours that folks can book with us. But really, if folks need anything, our front desk, they're there and happy to help.
Thank you.
For CAPS, the easiest way for students to connect is by scheduling online. They can schedule that initial contact online by going to our website. It's just caps.msu.edu, and there's a schedule and an appointment button. And then once they select that button, it'll have a list of available appointments. It also has the provider's name connected to that appointment. And so as we talked about earlier, and as Mikia mentioned, if they're, wanting to look at bios for our providers, or they have a certain kind of counselor preference, they can, pair that up, look at the bio, and then select the provider that they want to schedule that initial consultation with. And I think that's helpful for students to get a sense of who they might be meeting with before they come in. I think that can also help to kind of minimize some of that distress of just coming in and meeting with a new person. Aside from the scheduling online, we also have informal brief consultation services called CAPS Connect, and those are available virtually or in person and can also be scheduled online. Similarly, students can see where that's located, and that's over 20 locations across campus, so they don't have to just come to Olin or do that initial consultation. They can go to one of our CAPS Connect locations, and similarly, it'll have the person that is doing that specific CAPS Connect. And so again, they can kind of pair up where's a good location or who's a provider they think they could connect with, and kind of have that initial contact there. And then lastly, if students are in crisis at any point, they can utilize our CAPS crisis line, which is 24/7 crisis support. And this is available with a call to our main CAPS line, which is 517-355-8270. And using extension 1 connects them to a crisis counselor. So I would say those are the main access points for CAPS to cover different types of contacts.
Great overview. We will make sure that our listeners get those links and those numbers in the show notes as well. Lisa, you are really passionate about building resilience on our campus. Can you share how Spartan Resilience Education can help develop skills before a crisis happens so that people are better prepared and able to navigate those challenges in life?
Yes, still operating under the framework that we could all use these skills. Spartan Resilience is really trying to make it so that the student or the employee doesn't have to come seek us out, that we're going to be embedded into their Spartan experience. And so we've created training programs that can be facilitated by a peer or an instructor or a supervisor in learning and meeting spaces that Spartans are already engaged in. And so one example of this is called the Snippet Project, which is a curated coaching It's a curated coaching conversation that exists in 15 brief videos. And so an instructor could choose to embed these 5 to 10 minute videos into their weekly syllabus and just start to layer skill building, basic core skill building in a way that's accessible, it's just there, and is supportive and builds community. And they can because a lot of folks don't even know, they know they're struggling, but they don't even know what skills they need or how to articulate that. And so this is just in case people might benefit from this, we're investing in putting a little bit of time into that class so that they can start to layer some of these skills. The same training materials that we created are being used in faculty and staff meeting spaces as well, because stress and anxiety aren't student problems, they're part of the human experience. So a supervisor could bring the snippets into their weekly or monthly staff meeting and skill up and support their people more systematically. And it's cost effective because we made the training materials and now the people are bringing that to these different communities. We hope to have them in student organizations meetings. We hope to have them as part of residence hall programming, student athletic team practices. Where are the places where we could just start to introduce this to folks? And one example of the impact of this happened in the very first class that piloted these materials. Wonderful instructor, part of the MSU Honors College, Sadiq Muhammad, brought the snippets into his classroom, and any facilitator can choose their adventure with this material. And he actually chose sort of like the basic package, which is really he just showed the video and provided 5 minutes of self-reflection for his students, asking 2 questions, the same questions every week. What stood out for you, and how does it apply to your life personally? And then there was also in that class an assignment for a weekly journal. And one of the weekly journal entries submitted by a student kind of captured a story of the impact. The snippet was snippet 3, which is really about the impact of moods and how our mood impacts our perspective, our outlook, our behavior, our decisions. And so the student saw that video that week, and later wrote in his reflection that he was a male student, first-year student from California. He was very lonely, very isolated, struggling on the daily, and almost withdrew several times in the first few weeks of school. Saw this video, started wondering about the impact of mood, realized that he only ever really entertained the choice to leave when he was already in a low mood. And he said to himself, I may leave here, but I'm not going to leave here unless I decide to do that when I'm not in a low mood. And so that 5-minute video in that class gave him a sense of seeing himself as his moods go up and down. And I think inoculated him a little bit into not acting in what his thinking tells him to do when he's in a low mood. And as I read that, I thought, wow, if he got it about that decision, what other decision is he protected from making if he can see that he's in a really low mood and maybe shouldn't trust his thinking? And that student wouldn't have even been in a situation where he knew his struggle warranted help. And so he didn't have to go looking for it. It came to him. And I just feel like there's lots of ways through media and communication and messaging campaigns that both normalize the struggle. I do think some of the improvement post-COVID and our campus post a lot of really difficult things that have happened here at MSU is that the way the trauma-informed messages about, making space for people to feel what they're feeling, allowing people to acknowledge and honor and express what it is what human feelings they're feeling is really part of why the mental health situation is getting better, both on campus and nationally. So we're invested in bringing it to people in cost-effective ways that can be sustainable over time.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. It's very powerful. For those listening who might not know, Lisa developed the Snippets program from scratch, along with support from student interns as well. And so this is a Spartan homegrown program and is making a very valuable impact on our campus. I'd just like you just to mention some of the areas that are involved in this so far.
We have the snippets being piloted in now close to 20 different academic courses. There's also been some out-of-classroom student cohorts, such as the transgender living program. We've had first-year students participating in the bond program at RCPD that went through the program, were very positively impacted by it in their UGS 110 course. We also have an entire HR team from RHS that have gone through the program. We have MSU Extension will be doing a cohort across their employees across the state of Michigan.
Yeah, thank you for the work that you're doing on Snippets and Spartan Resilience.
Can I just acknowledge, Dr. Travis, that it's my 20 years of experience at the Employee Assistance Program and having the honor of sitting with our incredible members from our incredible workforce in some of their red-hot moments that taught me that the skills that we teach can help people navigate. I've had people say, I'm kind of glad this thing happened because otherwise I wouldn't have come and then I would have got these skills. Mm-hmm. To be able to see people go from really difficult moments to get their balance and be able to come back. And that's the ability to do that is teachable. It's really my years of experience with our workforce that taught me that.
Yeah, thank you for that acknowledgement as well. One thing that we're really proud of at UHW is our integrated model of health and well-being, and the folks that we have here taking part in this conversation exemplify it, right? It's the integration of physical health, mental health, social health, basic needs across the MAU. And Jon mentioned earlier the no wrong door approach that we take to entry, which basically means that wherever anybody goes on campus, they should be able to find their way to the resources that they need. And for health and well-being, that means for our services and supports that we provide. It allows our providers across units to refer students as needed to another service, and it helps that we know each other and like each other as well, and we come together as a team, as one team, as President Guskiewicz would say. And so in your experience, is this unique to MSU, and how does this benefit our campus community?
So I'll just say that the most unique part of this is that I'm connected to a lot of other EAPs at other universities. Our team is. EAPs are usually housed in human resources, right? And so it's unique, and that's extremely common. Sometimes there are other places, but it's typically the case. So it's already unique that the EAP itself has not been housed at Michigan State in human resources in at least 25 years. But the really unique thing is a result of UHW existing, which is that we are now in the same house as CAPS and Center for Survivors, as in addition to health promotion, in addition to all these other things, and student-facing services that support the mental health of students, to have that in the same area as the employee-facing supports for mental health services is extremely unique and very unusual. And I will tell you that I have colleagues at other universities who are very much, I've shared this with you, Alexis, but very much watching how this goes, because there's a lot of curiosity about how this works. And I will tell you that I have found it it's lovely. It's really nice to be able to have that connection with the folks in CAPS and Talitha and you guys. And I think the first place that I really felt it was after the shooting, right? And we were very much thrown into this thing where, UHW had existed for like 5 minutes at that point. And so we were just sort of getting our feet, I think, a little bit. And to be able to work side by side with so many CAPS people during that time and to plan things and to think through what our messaging would be and how we would do this, it was invaluable and really, really coordinated in a way that, we were just throwing it together too. But to have partners in CAPS alongside what we were doing in EAP, and then have the support from Center for Survivors, to have support from Campus Health and from Health Promotion, and knowing that and all that started to feel like it was a collective was really exciting.
Definitely a reflective moment on that. So. Yeah. Talitha, when students think about CAPS, they often picture the traditional counseling center in Olin, but CAPS has been expanding to bring mental health support even closer to where students are. And so can you share about the embedded counseling program and how that works at increasing access to care?
I think an embedded counseling model is from a framework of meeting students where they're located, in some ways bringing those services closer to home, ideally minimizing some of those barriers to help seeking and increasing access. So we have CAPS staff embedded in academic colleges and residence halls, and a group of us, including myself, are located at the MSU Union, where students come for different events, activities. They come to the Union to study, grab a bite to eat, meet up for coffee. Our embedded and union staff build community in those spaces, and it makes it easier for the students, the faculty, and the staff to get to know our services, to get to know our staff, and it provides increased opportunities for outreach and programming, for consultation that may be closer, and to provide support that may be specialized to a particular need or critical incident, like Jon referred to, us having been and in the union, being able to provide that support to some of those students that were impacted in that space. And so I do think it's important to have those embedded staff and to really make sure that those services can be accessible and that we get to know and build that community.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there may be a level of comfort in not having to navigate to a new building on campus, but having the resource a little bit closer.
They can come out in their pajamas and not go in the cold in some of those places.
Yeah. At a time like this, I've definitely appreciated.
I want to come to work in my pajamas.
Jon, are there any new initiatives for students aimed at improving mental health?
Well, yes. So I think the thing that I'm the most excited about right now is something that actually just launched this week. So it's a training. It's an online training that's on Ability, the Ability service that we all can log into, students and employees alike. It's called QPR, which stands for Question, Persuade, Refer. And QPR is a nationally known program. It's got lots of data to support its validity and its usefulness, but it's a program that is it's an education program that provides people with information about signs of suicide, what to look for, and how to talk to somebody that you might be concerned about that might be experiencing some sort of mental health struggle. And it's a suicide prevention program, right? By using education and educating everybody, not just mental health providers and medical providers or the folks around the state, right? But like anybody can take that, lay folks, everybody. And the value of that is that the more people know, right, the more likely it is that they'll be comfortable just initiating a conversation, like starting, which is what Q stands for, the question. You start with a question. You just start with something that leans into somebody, and it teaches you sort of how to have the conversation, what to listen for, what to look for, and then how to refer. So what I really love about that is it also shares with people like the boundaries in which their role is. They're not expected to be the therapists of the people that they have conversations with. They just need to know a few things about how to have the conversation and how to be helpful. And it's got a lot of interesting data that shows that it really does it does a lot of preventing of suicide and getting people connected with the resources and the help that they actually need. So this is something that anybody right now, as of Monday, right, can log on to Ability and sign up for this and take it. And if you like it, share it with people that you like that might be, or I guess you don't have to like them, but share it with everybody. But it's really cool. It's only an hour. It's real short. And it gives enough information. I should say also that CAPS, Lauren, NT at CAPS, has been doing in person, engaged, not online kind of thing, but QPR training in addition to mental health first aid training with a team of folks across campus for the past year or two. And that's really great. So I think the idea is that these things can both support each other. But it's another sort of no wrong door. It's different avenues of getting the same information in ways that somebody might best receive it.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. And likewise, are there any new services available for faculty and staff that may be less well known but impactful? Yes,
but I actually want to take a minute to just say that the EAP itself is something that a lot of people don't know about. It's not new. It's been around for a long time, but the Employee Assistance Program is a counseling center that's available for all MSU employees and their benefits eligible spouses and partners and children all have access to it. That's all employees. Graduate student assistants are eligible, and retirees are eligible, along with those other folks that are connected to those folks. And in addition to the counseling service, we also have consultations, which a lot of people also don't know about. If somebody doesn't know how to have a hard conversation with an employee or with a student or with a family member, or they don't even know what resources are available, they don't necessarily need counseling, we also help employees navigate those conversations and talk with them about those kinds of things. So those are the things that are immediately available with the EAP. We have other stuff that we do too and could talk 4 hours about this. But in addition, MSU currently has a service called Teledoc, which is a mental health support service that's remote, that all MSU employees have access to, and it's through Blue Cross Blue Shield. It's a product that's owned by Blue Cross Blue Shield, but any employee, whether they take Blue Cross Blue Shield or they have that insurance or not, they can engage it. You can go on the HR website and find that. And in addition to that, there's Spartan Fit, there's the nutrition program, and there's the Center for Survivors, all connected with UHW2, that all also support the mental health of employees as well as students. And a lot of people don't know that they have access to nutrition services in UHW and Spartan Fit and CFS. Oh, and Safe Place, thank you, yes. And as well as Safe Place, those are also all accessible to all MSU employees in addition to students.
Thank you. There's definitely no shortage of resources available. And as I listen to it, I'm in this work every day, but it always amazes me the number of resources that are available on the campus. So how can our faculty and staff support our students, can better support our students? And I want to start with Mikia on this because I think, the student perspective on this is essentially what we need to know.
Yeah, I think kind of like I said earlier, the biggest thing is just making it known and being open to offer that support. A lot of I'm a fourth-year student here. I'm graduating in May, but I've taken a lot of different classes with a lot of different instructors, been involved in a lot of different programs, and I've seen just a lot of different ways that faculty approaches showing their support for their students, and that can be as simple as just putting a note in the syllabus of if there's anything ever going on, then you need to reach out, feel free, this contact information, or instructors that will say something before if we're talking about a more detailed, maybe possibly triggering topic in class, giving us the opportunity to step out or talk to them afterwards, and providing the resources that if we do need to have further conversations, even just little things like that go a long way. And then I think just continuing to kind of advertise and share that there are all of these resources that a lot of students don't know about, that if they do know about sooner, they can utilize them. So just continuing to push the advertisement of these are the resources that you have access to at MSU. Because I know for me, there were times where I was like, oh, I've been here for X amount of years already, and I just now knew that this was a thing. And that comes from being in my position at RHA for a year and a half now. I've learned a lot more things even just through that. So I think just really giving the opportunity of the knowledge of the programs, because when students know about these things, it's a little bit easier for them to be like, okay, well, here's this, this, and this, and kind of you guys talked about with the no wrong door approach, you can choose any way to do it, I think is really important.
Mm-hmm. So having lots of choices available. Thank you for sharing that, Mikia. Likewise, Jon, how can supervisors create a supportive environment for their teams?
So again, I could talk about this for 6 hours, so I'm going to be really short about this in the interest of time. But actually, a lot of the same stuff that you're talking about for supervisors that are interested in maintaining a psychologically safe working environment that doesn't. By the way, I should say that doesn't have to compromise efficiency. It doesn't have to compromise outcomes, right? People can work and often work harder and are more loyal and are more connected when they feel psychologically safe, and they can work really hard in those environments. So the ways that we do that, there's so many different ways to do that, but I'm just going to focus on a couple. One is modeling vulnerability and humility and being transparent when possible, right, are really important. Address stress and well-being. Talk about stress and well-being with your team, right? Have a conversation with them about it on a regular basis and make that a normative thing that we talk about. And the other thing I would really say is, I already talked about QPR and mental health first aid, but consider taking a class like that. Learn how to respond to mental health issues. What I've seen for years, is that faculty and supervisors and people that navigate and see these things, they're seeing them more and more often in the workspace and in classes. and they're uncomfortable. They don't know how to do this stuff, right? And so when they're uncomfortable, what do? Well, we do either what is most comfortable for us in the moment. So some people totally avoid it, and some people do maybe too much, and they kind of get a little bit therapyizing with folks, and then they get themselves in a tricky situation. So if you can take a class like that and just get some information, there are some really, really good services out there, both on campus, but also just in the world that I really encourage people to learn more about, just to increase their feelings of competency and confidence with this kind of thing.
Additionally, I would just add that supervisors are gatekeepers for a large number of people, and to really embrace, your ability to connect people to the services that are already here. So you could choose to reach out and connect with Spartan Resilience and bring the Snippet Project to your work team or your department, but also more importantly, really embracing flexibility to allow your employees to take the best advantage of the resources the university offers. And that may be giving them some extra time for lunch if they're going to be participating in a resilience education class during the lunch hour. There's so many ways we can show up and be seen as people who really want to care for individuals and create a community of care.
Thank you. And I'll just add, as a supervisor, making sure you're taking care of your own health and well-being and your own mental health is so crucial. We've seen even in our data that when faculty and staff and administrators in particular are dealing with high amounts of stress and anxiety, kind of has a trickle-down effect throughout the whole organization. So I'll just advocate for that one as well.
100%.
How is RHA supporting student well-being in the residence halls as well? I know you're doing a lot.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things is that we really try to make sure that our students, especially those that are living in the residence halls and university housing, know that we are also a resource. And even if we don't have the answers, we probably know someone who does, because we know that sometimes students can be more comfortable coming to another student before going straight to faculty for other resources, just because that's just how we are. We tend to go to people who we spend a lot of time with already first, and that's why I think it's really important that during our our leadership teams trainings and stuff, we also emphasize that we are a pillar of support as well, and that if people come to us for things, being able to navigate that, or knowing that if we can't navigate that, here are people who can help you navigate that. We do our president does a great job of bringing presenters into our General Assembly meetings. Dr. Travis, you actually came to our last GA meeting of the semester and did a great, we had really good feedback about the UHW presentation that you gave. So just kind of, even just little things like that of bringing resources in to present at those bi-weekly meetings, just to kind of connect students with those resources that are there, and kind of giving the opportunity for us to be another gateway to utilizing those resources.
Yeah, thank you. It makes total sense that folks go to the people who they're familiar with, and that's why we always say it takes all of us in the community, and everybody needs to be aware of these resources.
Yeah, I think another thing too, I forgot to mention this, but at RHA, I'm our chief publicity officer, so I do a lot of our social media management and outreach and things like that. So even for me personally, I try to make sure that I share a lot of the resources as much as I possibly can. When I get emails about them, or when I'm just scrolling through our Instagram and I see posts that are coming from the Healthy Spartans account, CAPS, different social media pages, kind of sharing those, because I know that's a platform that most of our students are on, and most of our students interact with. So kind of just having another gateway to share that information is something I really try to do as we grow our brand as RHA as well.
Yeah. Thank you for that collaboration and partnership as well to get the word out. It has been noticeable, and I know I'll speak on behalf of our communications team. They've really enjoyed spending more time with RHA this year. So looking forward towards a bright future, I want to just ask you as we round out our conversation for today, what is your vision for mental health supports on campus in the next 3 to 5 years? And this is open to everyone.
I can just go off of what Mikia mentioned in terms of that kind of network of resources on campus and kind of building that network of resources on campus. I think that could result in a shared sense of community and hope. And allow us to be really purposeful in supporting our students in all of the moments, those moments of success or those moments of struggle, and all along the way in between. And as Lisa mentioned, I think the approach of collaborative care, I think is important for us to keep a lens of cultural understanding. And as we talked about previously, I think this is a very important season of our students' lives, and they're learning and growing in a lot of ways, not just academically, but in their identity. And so I do think that network of resources and support can go a long way, even beyond graduation for our students.
I think part of my vision is really to continue to amplify the normalizing of struggle, to burst the bubble of toxic positivity, and so that people, the more each of us is willing to share when we're having a hard time, the more we normalize that it's just a natural part of it, and that if we're struggling, there's nothing wrong with us. We're not broken or damaged. We're just having a hard time. And the skill of self-compassion might help, or the skill of mindfulness might help. Because if we can normalize struggle, we might reduce isolation, and isolation drives increased risk for people getting lost inside of an upset or a shame story in a way that might lead to self-harm or suicidal ideation. That's part of the vision. Another part of the vision for me is that we would have Spartans teaching Spartans about mindfulness and other skills. Just really, one of our programs is called Mindful State, and the double entendre is we want people to have the skills for themselves personally to be more mindful more often, but also for Michigan State to be a place where the practice of mindfulness is visible and part of the Spartan brand. Because if we do that, people won't have to look back in their 30s and say, I wish I knew that back when I was in college. Mm-hmm. Also, part of the vision is that there would be funders out there in the world that would really recognize and support the work we're doing so that we could do more of it.
Yeah. That's a great point.
I think it's just important to echo what Lisa said about really emphasizing that everybody has dealt with something at some point in time, because that fosters that sense of community and openness. And so I think just continuing to involve just the Spartan community in general and like making it a more open conversation is really big, because like I know even for me, I've seen a lot of changes even in the past 3 years since what happened with the mass tragedy my freshman year, just kind of seeing that growth, hoping to see that continue over the next few years so that it's more open and accessible and students feel like they can reach out to anybody, and anybody that they reach out to is going to be able to help them or guide them in the right direction.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to, as a disabled person with a mental health disability specifically, and as someone that works in the field of disability services, I approach this question through that kind of lens, right? Through a disability-specific lens. And there's just so much incredible research out there talking about that when we help students develop a positive or even neutral identity with making sense of their disability, their mental health can absolutely be a disability for folks. The outcomes of the sense of of belonging, the student success outcomes as well, just increases like so much. When I think about what do the next 3 to 5 years look like, again, I want to echo what folks are saying here about decreasing stigma, and again, not separating disability from that conversation. So how can we really have conversations about mental health that are talking about disability? How can we include, representation has been a big part of our conversation today. How can we make sure we're representing disabled folks around campus, whether that be within our staff and the programming we're doing, our messaging, things like that. And then I also think about proactive access, right? As somebody that works in disability services, we're talking a lot about what is the work that we can do internally, but how can we support our faculty, staff, supervisors, right, here on campus so that they can create atmospheres that are accessible from the get-go, right? So you don't have to get the support when you need it, right? The support is already there. So how can we, as a unit and as an office in RCPD, how can we make sure that support is out there and we are enabling our folks here on campus to make an accessible campus in the first place.
Yeah.
All wonderful points, and I hope that we can start to think of mental health care the same way we think of physical health care, that it's really a routine part of everybody's life at MSU and you have access to it.
Yeah.
I would love to see it being normalized that all employees and students as well, but because employees are the gatekeepers for so much of the information, to have access to the education about how to have these conversations, and that just become a part of what we all do, right? When you're onboarded, and every couple years that there's this normal thing, supervisors get a certain training, employees get a certain training, so that no matter where you go on campus, whether you're a student, you're an employee, if you're struggling with a thing, the people that you interact with, and the majority, a critical mass of them, right, will have an ability to have a good conversation with you and know where you can go without being worried about it. That would be amazing.
Let's build it. Let's do it.
Yes.
Thank you for drawing a beautiful picture of how you envision mental health in the future. I do truly believe that we can get there and look forward to working with you all on it. If you could leave the audience today with one piece of advice for building a more resilient campus community, what would that be?
I'll say that primary care is often the first place people come when things don't seem right, and we are here for you. We can help sort out what's going on. We can get you connected to other resources. We can provide treatment and care and follow-up. And often a same-day appointment is available, so that's my message there.
Thank you.
I think mine would be to lead with empathy and compassion every day in your life, because especially when you're in a public-facing position, when you're interacting with other people, you never know what someone is dealing with. So when you lead with empathy, you're already one step towards the right direction of helping them, because you never know that even you just saying like something kind and understanding could make a huge difference in someone's day. I think that's just like the most important thing of kind of building that.
Yeah.
Building off of Mikia's comment, one of the barriers to being able to show up that way is not being able to feel those emotions yourself. If I'm not willing to feel grief, it's hard to show up for a student or a staff member who's experiencing grief. So my message to everybody would be, I would love for all Spartans to reclaim their right to experience the full range of human emotions, regardless of their gender identity, and releasing the gender code that really can that systematically impairs us from having that full range of emotions. Life is more beautiful if we can make space for the difficult, unpleasant emotions too.
Yes.
Absolutely.
When I approach the conversation about resilience, I like to kind of flip the script, right? So where are we placing the onus on folks? So for any full-time professionals at MSU that are tuning in, when I think about this question, I think about how can we take on that onus so that folks don't have to be resilient, right? How can there always be a culture of care here at MSU. So I'm thinking about what can we do as full-time professionals to foster this culture of care through both cultural, administrative changes, things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, just mine will be real short. It's just something I try to do all the time, and it shows up in therapy a lot, but just to maintain a position of curiosity as much as possible. It's hard to do sometimes. It doesn't mean it doesn't negate any of your feelings that you might be having, but maintaining a position of curiosity helps with so much.
Kind of with that awareness of how we're doing, taking that time to heal and recover when we need it. I think that we're already a resilient campus, and individually we have that resiliency in us, and taking the time to be aware of how we're doing will then allow us to rest in recovery as we need to, and pull on that and tap into that resilience when we need to as well.
Thank you to our guests for sharing their insights, experiences, and the work they're doing to support students, faculty, staff, and the greater Lansing community. To our listeners, thank you for spending time with us today. I want to remind you that you are not alone. If you have an MSU ID badge, on the back of the badge, you can find a QR code and information about crisis services and mental health resources on our campus, so please do explore that. These conversations matter, and your engagement has helped move us closer to a campus where well-being is a shared priority for students, faculty, and staff, so that everybody feels supported and valued. I'm your host, Dr. Alexis Travis. Until next time, take care and be well.